We talked a lot about diversity today. And the reality is that this diversity is only increasing, right? There is an increasing diversity in scale and volume of data. There's an increasing diversity in data infrastructure, data stack, data products. And there's an increasing diversity in data roles, right? Roles like analytics engineers, data platform teams are becoming more and more mainstream today than they ever were before. And this diversity basically means that as data organizations and data people, we are in constant chaos mode. We're constantly reactive, and we're not able to actually take a proactive approach to fixing stuff in our organizations. And breaking this chaos needs a fundamental new approach, right? And this is something that we call DataOps. We've talked about the word DataOps a lot, but what the heck is DataOps, right? So stepping back, let's look at all the other domains in our organizations. Sales teams have sales ops and sales enablement, right? That focus on ramp time and success of the sales team. Our developer teams have DevOps and developer productivity engineering that focuses on developer productivity. Product teams have product ops and agile. So while all of these other domains in our orgs have focus teams that are focused on enabling that function, why don't we have one in the data team, right? And that's really what DataOps is really about. DataOps is not a product category. It's really a culture, a practice, a function that enables the rest of the organization to achieve value from data. This function doesn't actually execute data or analytics projects. It instead focuses on the tools, processes, automation, and culture that helps the rest of the organization get value from data, right? And the consumers of the DataOps team are the data team itself. So improving productivity of the data team, reducing ramp time. We talked about onboarding as a challenge. Data consumers, so enabling self-service, reducing data service requests, and reducing dependencies on the data team. And finally, data platforms itself. The use case that Mark talked about earlier today was a customer experience platform that was actually being fed by metadata to build a ton of automation, right? So as you think about your actual data platforms that are running completely programmatic automated workflows, how do you actually start supporting some of that centrally? So the best analogy that I like to think of in terms of what data ops teams do, revenue ops teams activate revenue data to help organizations improve revenue growth. Product ops teams activate product data to help build better products. Data ops teams activate data, which is metadata, to help organizations achieve value from their data. We've used this word activate quite a bit today, right? Activate metadata and bring it back into your daily workflows. What does activation really mean? So before we summarize what we mean by active metadata, I think it's important to actually understand what's the before state, right? What is the traditional, what is the current state? The current state of traditional metadata management, also called sometimes data catalogs, also called sometimes data governance. The reality is that, it's pretty passive. What does that mean? First, it's siloed. It brings together metadata from a bunch of different sources and goes and puts it into this one other tool, and we call it the data catalog or the data governance tool. But the problem with that approach is that if you think about it as an end consumer, I want context where I am and when I need it. When I'm in that BI tool and say, can I trust this dashboard? The last thing I want to do at that point is jump to another tool, search for my login, search for the dashboard, then look at lineage, right? I want context where I am and when I need it, which is one element of activation is how do you bring that back into daily workflows. Second, they're generic. Varun talked a lot about personalization, so I won't go deeper into this, but context means very different things to different people, right? A data engineer, when they look at that same table, they care about the quality tests and the pipeline metrics. An analyst, when they look at that same table, they care about column descriptions and frequency distribution. When Netflix can give you and me completely personalized experiences, why can't we do something like that for our data teams? And third, they're pretty closed systems, right? They're relatively manual. Metadata goes in and gets locked up. And can't really drive a ton of programmatic value that metadata can do today in the ecosystem. And so what we mean by going from passive to active is really, how do you go from taking metadata from a silos to actually embedding it back into the day-to-day workflows of teams, be it through a Chrome extension that follows you through your browsers and all your data tools, be it in Slack, be it in Jira. How do you go from generic to super personalized experiences so that every data user gets exactly the context that they need at the time that they need it? And third, how do you go from closed to truly open by default, where metadata can be used and leveraged for a ton of programmatic use cases, from cost optimization, security, observability, and so on. And so with that, I want to end with my version of I Have a Dream, which was the song that was playing when we started today, if you heard the lyrics. We're on, at Atlan on a mission to help data teams do their life's best work. And we hope that we see that change as teams go from being passive, siloed, generic, logged in, to truly active, embedded, personalized, and open, to build a truly DataOps driven culture. With, we talked about right at the start of this, the biggest challenge being trust and collaboration. So truly trust focused and collaborative environment.